Hey guys, welcome to the Caring for Creatures show. It's good to be with you on a Thursday on the I Love Seaville Network. A lot we're going to cover on the program. We're going to catch up with Mary Birkholz, who's the president and founder of Caring for Creatures. And we're going to recap the week that was at CFC. Of course, Caring for Creatures is Central Virginia's first no-kill animal sanctuary. She's been doing this for over 30 years in Fluvanna County, and we're undoubtedly proud to welcome her and spotlight her on the I Love Seaville Network and here across Charlottesville and Central Virginia. CFC, as you can see in the bottom, has got some fantastic businesses that are part of the program. We will get to that in a matter of moments with Mary Birkholz. Harris Tolber and Judah Wickhauer, directors and producers on the show. And I think, Harris, on that moment and on that note, let's welcome Mary to the show. Mary, how are you?
I'm great, thank you.
It's great to have you.
Thank you. Good to be here, as always.
Show's yours. Where would you like to start?
Well, first of all, let's start with those businesses that you're now seeing the logos at the bottom of our live stream, because these are wonderful, wonderful businesses that help Caring for Creatures so much, and I highly recommend that you support them in any way that you can. Pet Supplies Plus, Charlottesville store, Happy Tales is actually located in Fluvanna County, offering lots of different pet food, dog, cat, what have you. And, of course, Charlottesville Veterinary Hospital, who is actually represented here today by Marty Betts, and we'll get to Marty soon. So I thank all of them for their wonderful support over so many years. I'm also going to add another thank you to Greenberries and to all of you who purchased one of those wonderful almond brittle lattes.
That's right.
Caring for Creatures earned $600 as a result of all of your fine drinking. So we're grateful for that, and the animals are grateful for that. The week.
Yes.
Okay. The first thing I want to do is honor a dog, Hutch. Hutch, we helped him over his Rainbow Bridge this week, actually. Marty helped us with all of that. Hutch is sort of the end of an era. Hutch is leaving. Hutch, along with, probably 35 other dogs, way back in 2005, was part of a large emergency rescue we did out of Columbia, Virginia, and it was sort of a hoarding situation. Hutch and 7 others of his family, I'm going to guess, extremely frightened in their pen at this location. They happened to be living in a pen with a pile of poop that, I kid you not, was about 5 feet tall when we went in there. You know, the individual just could not take care of these animals, and they lived with this mountain of poop. Anyway, bottom line is we got as many adopted as we could and sent to other rescues, and ended up bringing about 35 dogs back to CFC. And Hutch was one of them. And, you know, so Hutch lived at our place. He was probably a year old when we got him. And so he lived from 2005 to this year, 2019. So we honor Hutch for his bravery. He was still shy when he got to the facility, our facility, resulting in not being chosen for adoption, I think, because of his shyness. But he had many friends at CFC, and it wasn't just us doing for Hutch. Hutch did for us too. He was a dog I could count on to be friendly with any dog we put him with. He welcomed any and every dog, made them comfortable, and for that, you know, we're grateful to Hutch. He could always make another dog feel good. So we honor Hutch in his leaving and move on to the next big thing.
I think we need to turn that into a sizzle reel to further honor Hutch. Harris Tolber. Hutch on screen right now wearing glasses and a bandana.
Yeah, that was one of his
smile from
fun.
ear to ear.
Yeah, he was always willing to let us do silly things with him for a good picture. So that was wonderful. We also had some adoptions this week. Raven and Star, both dogs. Raven, exceptionally shy dog, exceptionally. And we are so excited that she's now in a home of her own. It required the adopter to come out to CFC on several occasions with their dog, because she really related to other dogs. And let her get used to them. Let her get used to their dog. And the minute Raven started playing with their dog, I said, okay, that's what I was waiting for. Now she's ready. And it took probably about 3 or 4 visits for that to happen. And she's now in her home. And they're telling us she's doing great. She's doing great. So that's good news. Star was, I know you heard of her before here. She had a litter of puppies. She and her other buddy were dropped alongside the road. And someone happened to notice that and picked them up, brought them to CFC. She was pregnant, had her babies. They were all adopted. And now Star found her home. So that's great. And one kitty found her home this week, Mango. And I just mentioned Mango because she's a little special. She's an orange tabby, a female orange tabby. And am I right, Marty? They're kind of rare. They're rare. Yeah, so they're rare. And we had 2 of them. Mango went out on adoption, and I have Mango and Tango, I think, who's the other one. She's still at CFC. So
I love it.
Kind of interesting.
Yeah. Sonia Aaron Collins McCall says Hutch was very handsome.
Yes.
And will certainly be missed. If you guys have a comment, a question, a topic point you would like to relay on the show, put it on whatever stream you're watching here on Facebook. A lot of folks are watching right now. Thank you, Kristen Destiny Brown, for watching.
Kristen.
Thank you, Michelle Shiflett Gaines, Tim Ryan, Grace, and Judah. We have folks watching from Richmond to southwestern Virginia, up into D.C. and Pennsylvania now.
Great.
Any other items in the notebook?
I do. I've got a list of things that I'll go through, ways you can help us that might be a little new and different.
Yeah.
Pet Supplies Plus. Redford Naturals is a brand of cat and dog food that they sell. They're doing a little special for caring for creatures. We use Redford Naturals for our kitties and dogs. If you buy and donate at least a 5-pound bag to Caring for Creatures, you will get 10% off your total order, whatever else you're buying. So that's a good deal. Coranda beds. We have Owen, one of our dogs. I think there might be a picture coming from that.
We have Owen.
If you don't know what a Coranda bed is, the Coranda bed you can get on their website. They have a shelter program. You can order us a Coranda bed for one of our dogs or 2 of our dogs. They'll put the order together and ship it to us. And you can find that on our website, caringforcreatures.org homepage on the news feed. There's some information and a link there.
Along with the shows.
Oh, that's really
that.
great. Yeah. We have now a CFC tab on our homepage of the website, and you can see all the CFC shows on there, all the past shows. So that's good. And easy.
I love it. Caringforcreatures.org. You can catch all the shows that have been archived from this set on her website. And I think it's something that you should check out. CFC Show, just click it. Very easy to navigate and use. But I think it could be a really useful tool. One in particular would be the training seminars that we're rolling out.
Right, absolutely. And Ashley Morris, who is a local to Fluvanna County.
That's good.
There she is. We're starting a training class here on the CFC Show once every, say, 4 to 5 weeks. Ashley joins us, and we either use Liza, the resident dog, as a demo dog, or at some point soon
we're going to bring dogs.
We're going to bring a CFC dog, and maybe one much crazier than Liza. So.
The I Love Seville mascot, Liza, is a CFC dog.
Yeah.
And she's been a godsend to hear because as someone who is somewhat high-strung, having the dog around has been very pleasant. Let's welcome Mary, the guest to the show, shall we?
All right, here we go. Marty and Susan are very special folks to CFC and have been for a long time. Often we talk about the things you can do. You can adopt, you can donate, you can volunteer to help CFC. And both of these individuals have done all 3. And in a big way. Marty has been coming out, oh Lord, Marty, you might have to help me, 15 years plus? Not quite.
I think about 11
or 12 years. And I remember the moment in Sam's Club where we saw each other and you waved me down and go, Mary, I think I might be able to help. And I went, yes, please. So what Marty does, and I'll let him give you more details, but Marty donates his expertise. Once a month he comes out to Caring for Creatures physically, and we have a whole list of things already for him. And he sees lots of animals in 4 hours, probably 30 or 40, or I don't know. You can give me all of that, but it's a lot. It's a lot. And Susan White, I think she might win a prize for adopting some of the best animals that we have, and she'll talk to you about all of that. But Susan comes along with Marty and assists, and she'll also explain more of what she does, but she's there to make sure any animal that's been put under sedation for a procedure is doing well through that sedation, and she'll explain the rest. So I'll shut up. And let's get going with, let me hear what you think, what you guys do.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned the Sam's Club, because I started thinking, how did I get involved? And I'd known you for a few years.
Yeah.
And we literally at Sam's Club, and my kids were out of the house, away at college, and I thought, well, now I have some time to give back, and I thought, how can I do that? And I saw Mary, and I knew what she was doing, and I thought, well, that'd be a great way to at least give something back to the community. Yeah. And so we talked and decided that we would try this, and it's been quite a few years that and I think we've helped a lot of animals over those years. Oh, Lord,
yes.
And one of my, talking about adopting, one of my first, I think I'd been there a few months, and Pendleton was lame. And when I x-rayed him, it turned out that Pendleton had a dislocated shoulder and a diaphragmatic hernia that had been there from probably an automobile trauma for a while. And so he's now my dog, and he's still doing very, very well. I fixed his diaphragmatic hernia, but I didn't have the expertise to fix his dislocated shoulder, so I took him to a friend and colleague who's an orthopedic surgeon. And he's since had 3 or 4 more surgical procedures, including after 11 or 12 years of life. A week ago, I was playing with him and looked in his mouth, and he had, after 11 years, somehow managed to fracture 2 of his teeth.
Oh, geez.
And so Pendleton had 2 extractions last week, but he is the most devoted dog I've ever had in my life. He's just, I honestly think that Pendleton appreciates the fact that he's got a home and other dogs to be with and people to take care of him. So anyway, that was one of the first trips out there, and we've been going once a month, and I am amazed at how many animals need help. Yeah. We see a variety of different things, and probably the biggest challenge I think that a veterinarian has always is getting a history, because you're getting information secondhand from a caregiver, and people describe the same thing differently, dramatically sometimes. And in the case of caring for creatures, we frequently have no history. So we, like in Pendleton's case, we just didn't know, and still don't really know what happened to him. Right. And so we're often starting with a question of what happened and no way to get that answer. So it makes it a little bit more challenging to do that. But,
I have many questions for you. I want to welcome Susan White into the show. And Susan, start with an open-ended question for you. Caring for creatures, what does CFC mean to you?
Oh, it's my joy to go out there with Marty. I don't do much. I kind of hang around and I watch the cats. I groom them. I clip their toenails, and but it's mainly I do it for myself because I just love being there. I've adopted 8 cats. I have 5 residents now, and this past year I adopted a little dog who had come in on a Saturday, and Saturday night she had 10 puppies. And I looked at that dog's face and I just fell in love with her. So I bought my housekeeper out, because she's the one who stays with the animals when we're out of town. And now, she'd had 10 puppies, and she was a little droopy at the time. My housekeeper was a little bit superficial about her looks. But I brought my husband out, and he brought, her name is Daisy. Her name was Spring I think, at the time. Mm-hmm. And my husband took Daisy out on the leash, and I was talking to Mary about something. I looked out, and they were sitting on the porch, and they had so bonded just in that short period of time. And she's just a joy. So I I don't do a lot. I just enjoy it. I mean, if anything can get me up at 7 o'clock on a Saturday morning, it's going to Caring for Creatures.
And Susan always understates what she does out there, and I just
Yeah,
want everybody
I
to
think-
know that the biggest thing she does for me, we often have a number of animals sedated that we're working on, and I can't focus on anything other than the animal that I'm working with. And she gives me the confidence that they're being watched carefully, taken care of, and that we don't have any complications with their recovery. And she always makes that sound like it's not important, and it is
It's
incredibly
very important.
I am communicating with the watchers here and the commenters here. This is from Teresa Taco. She says, Percy says, hi, Mary. We
hey,
are
Percy.
sorry to hear that Hutch passed away. Thanks for giving him a good life. You are such angels of hope and mercy. Looking forward to checking in on Jorge and Jimmy. I love this Caring for Creatures show. And that's from Teresa and Jaylene
Yep.
and the House Project.
Right.
So thank you, Teresa, for that. If you guys can like and share the feed. We have another question, another comment coming in. Marty, what you do at Charlottesville Veterinary Hospital is absolutely amazing. You have had an impact in this community that you probably don't even realize. I just wanted to say thank you for what you do. How does that make you feel?
Nice.
Thank you. Very good. Thank you.
Let's throw this question to you here. CFC in totality, 30 years in Central Virginia, rescuing and taking animals from high-kill animal situations and giving them a second shot at life. Liza over there is a CFC dog. Put in perspective from your standpoint what CFC means to the community.
Well, it's just we've got so many dogs that need homes, and it is an organization that allows a lot of those dogs that otherwise wouldn't be here to find wonderful places to live.
Yeah.
What do you think,
Yeah,
Mary?
absolutely, you're right, and that is the little different role we play. You know, there's a lot of wonderful rescue folks out there, and a lot of great shelters in Central Virginia, and our setup and our approach is to, and we do take animals from other facilities, but we try to take those that no one else will because of a behavioral issue or a medical thing, and it's what's so rewarding for me, even, and I've seen it all these years, but it never ceases to amaze me, is how these animals develop and become the most wonderful animals. Daisy, that Susan adopted, she's absolutely right. She came from a high-kill facility on Saturday. She just had a 6-hour drive, and very pregnant, ready to pop. And there she was, sitting in her birthing area in the main kitchen. And I knew from looking at her she was going to have them that night. And I knew most likely it would be 10 o'clock or midnight, because that happens to me. And then I'm always over there with them. But her disposition was so wonderful. She just was very special. And I want to bring in now another special case that Marty's been working on and still has another surgery to go. That is so amazing to me, and I'll let Marty explain it, but Mickey, and we have some pictures of Mickey, I believe.
Yeah, Harris will put them on.
Mickey came, again, he was from a high-kill facility, and he had some medical issues. He, one of his eyes was not workable anymore. He has a cleft palate and a part of something's wrong with his tongue. I mean, and Marty will explain all of that to you, but he had one surgery before leaving South Carolina that didn't work out pretty quickly, didn't work out to help his situation. And it's been quite the road with Mickey, and Marty will fill in what he's amazingly doing for this dog.
What Mickey was born with some congenital abnormalities. The biggest one is a cleft palate, which is a defect in the formation of the roof of your mouth. And so he has an opening in the roof of his mouth, and frustratingly that leads to anything that he eats and drinks can get up into his nasal cavity, and that's irritating to the tissues and creates discomfort for him. And so it's such a large defect that the veterinarians that originally tried couldn't get it closed. And it's something that I've never done before, but it's going to be a staged procedure, and we've already done 2 where I'm creating grafts and flaps to move forward to cover the area. And I'm about 2/3 of the way there now. So I think one more procedure and I should have this defect closed. And the amazing thing is that he doesn't hate me. He thinks I'm the greatest, and maybe it's because he's asleep the whole time, but he absolutely loves coming to the animal hospital. He wags his tail the whole time. He enjoys my staff, and I'm hoping I can be successful this last time, and this next time rather, in getting this completely healed, and then we can find a good home for him.
What are some of your favorite aspects of your job?
Wow, that's a good question. I pretty much like everything about being a veterinarian. I enjoy the people. I enjoy working with my patients. I was just talking to one of my partners, Chris Middleton, about the fact that we don't know what we would do if we ever retired, and I don't really have any intention to, because I just like it. I have relationships that go back, probably, in answer to your question, the relationships that I've had for 30 plus years with people and generations of their animals, that's what I like most about being a veterinarian.
How about you? What are your favorite, how about your favorite firsthand story from your experiences and time, Susan, at Caring for Creatures?
Well, I was thinking as Mary was talking, one thing that Mary does is really try to match an animal with a family. She had a family, actually, who wanted Daisy, and I think, with children and everything, not two elderly people such as my husband and myself. And I sensed that it would have been really nice for Daisy to be someplace with, but she trusted me enough to let me take her, and she has a wonderful life. We have 3 other dogs, and they get along really well. But there was one occasion when I adopted a little hound dog, and he came home, and he did fine for a while, and then he and one of my terriers began to get into it, and it was just, I couldn't manage it, because it was basically Henry, the hound, attacking this little 15-pound terrier. And I called Mary, and she immediately said, he needs to come back. And I didn't like doing that, but I couldn't do it to my 10-year-old dog. And I figured, well, we did the hard work. We housebroke him. We got him through the chewing stage, and he has some basic obedience. And so he went back and was quickly adopted, I believe.
Yeah.
But Mary knew not to make me feel guilty about this,
heavens,
but knowing that it was something that I had to do. And I'm sorry about the family who didn't get Daisy, but I'm really not.
Well, it's for me, Daisy really needed someone and a family who was going to be devoted to her. And I know how devoted you are to your animals. I knew how much love that you give your animals, just how you speak about them. She needed that stability in her life. And the other family, by the way, did find, not at Caring for Creatures, but they did find another animal that fit into their family. And the thing with Henry, it was not an easy thing. It's hard to know, completely what's going to work and what isn't with the different animal personalities in a home. But yes, I knew immediately it was important he come back to us and find another animal companion in another home, which he did. And he's happy, and they're extremely happy. So everyone got where they needed to be.
I love it. I love it. We
end.
got a lot of feedback coming in from viewers here. Let me get this feedback from Susan, who's watching right now in Connecticut. And Susan, we are so grateful for you watching the show. Susan says, Mickey is so lucky to have found a safety net at CFC with all of his medical issues. He really had no options where he was being transported to CFC. Mickey is one of the most friendly, happy guys you'll ever meet. I'll also add that Dr. Betts has one of the coolest vintage red Chevy vans, complete with fuzzy dice. Thank you, Dr. Betts, for everything you have done for Mary and Caring for Creatures. Destiny also says, hey, Marty, from all of us at CFC, thank you kindly for all you do. Mallory Luttrell says, Lucy's watching and wanted to send her love to Dr. Betts and Susan and to thank Marty for everything he's done to help get to where she is today. Rob Lawson says, what is the best way to send support for Caring for Creatures? We'll get that question in a matter of moments, and have another question coming in here via Twitter. And this question is Marty, do you have a favorite dog breed? And if so, why? And this is from a loyal patient of yours.
Do I have a, I'm going to say that my, I guess, all-time favorite dog breed is your, I would call it a purebred domestic American. I just think that mixed breed dogs are healthier, happier, the way to go. But there are a lot of good purebred dogs out there that just have great temperaments. But I just have my, I guess I feel for the average, just plain old American dog. And they do tend to be healthy.
Yeah, good answer. How about you? Same question.
I after Daisy, I definitely would just go with a mixed breed. Now, my housekeeper has an app on her phone that if you show the dog to, it tells you what breed it is. Daisy is, she's just, I don't know if you have a picture up of her or not. But
There should be one, yeah.
He does. He's got it there.
Yeah.
But so the app said that Daisy is a Treeing Tennessee Brindle.
Oh, wow.
And there actually is a breed called that, and whether that's, but I do find Daisy spends a lot of time looking up on the trees for the squirrels, and if one comes down, she will catch it. So, but no, I've had some mixed breeds before, but I would definitely think they're stronger and easier in some ways than the purebred.
What do you think, Mary?
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I mean, I have a place in my heart for German Shepherds.
Right.
I've had a couple in my tenure at CFC. But what I have noticed is some of the dogs that we get in that are, like you say, the mixed breeds, hounds can be some of the strongest breeds. I mean, medically, they come in half dead. And give them some quality food and good medical treatment, and boom, they're coming back to life and can live, 12, 13 years for a larger size hound, which is pretty good.
That is really good.
Yeah.
The app is called Dog Scanner. Susan said that. Thank you for putting that on the stream. Brenda, thank you for putting the caringforcreatures.org donate link on the Caring for Creatures Facebook stream. We appreciate that. I have a question for you. Okay. It's not often that I get to sit around someone with your animal acumen. Okay. I have 2 purebred German Shepherds.
Okay.
Okay, one of them is an all-black German Shepherd, roughly 130 pounds.
Okay.
The other one is the traditional saddleback, about 105 pounds. Brothers from different litters, 7 months apart, same mom and dad. Complete opposite of each other.
Okay.
I've heard from breeders, and this is, I don't know if this is myth, like legend, like wives' tale type commentary, but that the all-black German Shepherds embody more courageous and alpha and outgoing tendencies versus the saddleback and a white one or something along those lines. Any comment, any insight into that?
I'll be honest with you, I've never heard that. Yeah. But I will tell you, German Shepherds are an interesting breed. When we were talking about purebred dogs, if you look at the German Shepherds in this country, when I was a young child, they were some of the most incredible dogs. Most of the German Shepherds that we had in this country were still directly related to, or sometimes actually German-bred dogs. And then they became very popular, and there was a lot of inbreeding. The breed became really unhealthy. There were major orthopedic issues that were very, very common, hip dysplasia in particular, but also some really severe temperament problems started to develop. And then, of course, they became unpopular. And now, because they're not being inbred anymore, we're back to a very, very good breed of dog that is responsibly bred. And so there are purebred dogs out there that are very healthy. And I think you find that German Shepherds now are back to being that kind of dog. You've got a big German Shepherd, though.
He's a monster.
Very big.
He's a monster.
I think I've seen him. Do you ever have him down on the mall?
Often.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We also
he terrifies people.
We have a German Shepherd,
Yeah.
and she does terrify people.
Is she all black?
No, she's black and tan,
Okay.
but primarily black.
Yeah.
And I can't walk her. She's very. I think it's fear aggression. But my husband walks her with a gentle leader collar, which is a very good way with a dog as strong as the Shepherds are. I've had problem with her being protective of the yard. We got to make sure that she's not outside. If somebody's in the house, she's fine. If they're in her yard, it's not fine. So.
Right. So, and Mary, you jump in here. I'm going to throw this to Susan and to Marty here. He is the most wonderful, and this is Leo and Max. He's the most wonderful animal. But if he feels the fear, then he is almost like I have to be very careful for him. And because he's all black as a dog and that big, people just give that energy off.
Gorgeous.
He's gorgeous.
Yeah.
He's a wonderful specimen, and he's so good with our 13-month-old son.
Oh.
I won't use hyperbole like a babysitter, but follows him around. It's amazing.
Well, I was glad. Two of my grandchildren were visiting over Easter, 4 and 6, and I was very concerned about our Tessa, not the other dogs. Daisy was, of course, wonderful with them, but Tessa I found to be was very good with them. I mean, she didn't scare them or come at them in a way that would make them. And one of the children had just been bitten by a dog, so they were ready to be kind of worried about
nervous.
Tessa, but she did well.
Sonia Aaron Collins McGall says, I love the show. I love German Shepherds. I love this conversation. Your thoughts on this, Mary?
My German Shepherds, the first one I had was one that I got when I moved here to do CFC, to start CFC. I was never in a living situation or a working situation where I really felt I could have a dog. Had a couple cats, but my schedule didn't permit that. She was an amazing dog, extremely intuitive, very smart. In fact, she was probably the best level-headed dog. I have more level-headed than me, and I'm not one to go off on too many crazy tangents, but I saw her once when someone was getting in my face about something a long time ago at CFC, though, and I was not willing to back off, and she just put her body between me and him. And
this is a good story.
And I got it. I don't know that he got it, but I got it, and she was saying back off because something's not good's going to happen. And so I did. I followed her lead. But the second shepherd I got was one that came into CFC as a stray, and he came also large, not quite as large as yours, but he was probably over 100 pounds at his highest weight. He had an issue with certain individuals, men in particular, and was rather protective. He did not care for people touching him that didn't know him right away. And I had many instances where, even staff that would come into my house, and if he picked up anything about somebody that he was not really sure about, he didn't lunge or attack. But you heard that mumble, growl below his breath and say, okay, watch out. I got your number and I'm in charge here. But as he got older, he mellowed a bit, and I worked with him a lot. And he sort of let some of those things go as he aged. But I know that there have been, I think Marty is absolutely right. I've known so many shepherds way back that a lot of temperament issues and aggression issues that were not easy.
I just don't think you see that much anymore.
Yeah, you don't. It is less. It is less. Yeah. I agree. Absolutely.
We have another question coming in. Anything you want to add to that?
About German Shepherds?
Yeah. We covered it well.
I just think that it's good to see a breed become healthy again after so many years of being inbred.
Well, the Rin-Tin-Tin effect.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
It's
basically what it is. Right.
Then it became the
101
dog that
Dalmatian
everyone
effect.
Yes,
Right.
yeah.
Exactly. Daniel Gum in Nelson County, thank you for watching. Bob Shada, Deborah Morgan, Bellamy Brown, who's running for City Council, Allie Snyder, Sarah Hill Buczynski in Crozet, Grace in Richmond, thank you for watching. Another question coming in. Dr. Betts, hey, it's Tim. Thank you for everything you've done for our family. Question about animals here. You have us thinking, how about the difference between the Labradors, chocolate, white, black, yellow, and temperament and personalities? Any correlations?
Well, Labradors are, it's pretty rare to have a Labrador that has any major temperament problem. They can be very exuberant dogs, but I just don't know that aggression is an issue. I don't really have any preference as far as coat color in Labradors. I think they all make wonderful, wonderful pets and great dogs to have in a family.
I would agree.
Yeah. I love the
much.
labs because you can trust them and you can put them in any environment and they're good to go.
Right.
That's pretty true.
But although I will say, because we have gotten some labs in that were at that teenager age, 8 months, where they really had not gotten a lot of guidance when they were much younger and smaller. And I've had people call in hysteria, this dog is eating my house. My husband's going to shoot it. Can you please take this dog? So that's what we did. And granted, the dog labs are big and they get excited. And, when they body slam, it's fun to them, but not so much for the humans. So we finally, would get the dogs with some manners and they get adopted and do just fine.
How about this topic here? You have a lot of hounds and beagles because oftentimes they are neglected or disregarded or discarded after hunting season.
Right.
How do we housebreak or train or socialize and assimilate into family life the hounds and beagles? That's a tough one.
Well, actually, I'm not so sure it is in my experience. Hounds, yes, they follow their nose. I think when I moved here to do CFC, I was not that familiar with hounds. I lived up in Northern Virginia and then in the Midwest before that. And the sheer volume of hound mixes and different types of hounds and beagles in this area was like crazy to me. But we got a lot of them because many hunters who are not interested in supporting their care in off seasons, let them go at the end of hunting, or they just don't want them because they won't hunt. And so we would get them. But what I find them to be is extremely smart. They're funny. They usually have a great sense of humor. And they're very strong physically. And I think you take pretty much the same approach with housebreaking with them as you do with beagles. Now, if you don't have them confined, they'll follow their noses for miles. And then all of a sudden they look up and go, oh, how'd I get here?
My buddy in Nelson has that problem.
Yeah, that's what they do. So, and you have beagle-y mix, and I don't know if
I've got a beagle found in the woods. We didn't adopt him from CFC, but we did adopt him from being found in the woods. And and then a Pendleton is beagle somewhat. And I think that any dog, I think hounds can be headstrong.
Stubborn,
I think, but any dog, I think it will be devoted to you. It's just a question of, when it comes to house training, consistency and positive reinforcement. Just praise them when they do what's right and create environments where they don't make mistakes, where you're always telling them that they've done the right thing.
When we got Daisy, she'd never been formally housebroken as far as we could tell. So, I mean, our way of housebreaking a dog is to have a large crate and we put Daisy in the crate, and she made it known that she didn't like being in the crate. She doesn't bark, but she was very unhappy in the crate. So we said, okay, let's see how you do. Never once since we've had her has she ever gone in the house.
Interesting. Yeah.
For a while, she was the perfect dog, but then she chewed up her bed, so she didn't like that, being too perfect. So
Have you had success with crate training? We had so much success with our Germans in the crate training.
Absolutely.
It's by far the best approach to teaching. But what you've done is created an environment where they're not likely to make a mistake.
Right.
And so then as long as you pay attention to what you're doing, you're always going to be telling them what a good job they did, because you're taking them outside to the appropriate place at the appropriate time. And as soon as they figure out that that's what you want them to do, they'll do it over and over again.
And the interesting thing, and we talked about this with Mary, and you've done a really good job of highlighting this, we keep their crates open, and at bedtime, they choose to go in.
Yeah.
That's like it's their den.
It's their
It's a safe place.
They like the safe
They're
place.
den animals.
Yeah.
And then like our neighbors who come over, or our friends who come over, they're like, oh, you have your dogs in a crate. I'm like, they want to be in there, and they don't understand that. But I don't know. We talked about that, Mary.
Yeah, and it is. Every dog's an individual, and so what works for one dog is not necessarily going to work for the other. And as Ashley will point out, get to know your dog and know what triggers something in your dog. And I've had many different breeds that have lived in and out of my house, and everyone's just a little bit different. You just have to get to know them.
I love it. I love it. Dr. Betts, you have quite the following. The page is certainly buzzing. We appreciate that. Guys, if you could give it a like and a share. We filled 50 minutes.
I have some questions
Yes,
for Marty.
please.
There are some things. First of all, I want to say in appreciation to Marty, and I don't know that you're going to remember this, Marty, because it was long before you started coming out to CFC, but on a monthly basis anyway. But I brought a dog, and I don't think you were in the old hospital over there on 29, and he had a heart issue. It was a hound mix, probably a hound lab. He was all black, wonderful, wonderful dog. And you had a heart specialist person that came in every so often and did these tests. Well, I dropped Bear, was the dog's name, dropped him off, did the tests, came back for him. And I will never forget, and I know probably many of you out there have had this happen to you, I was told that the specialist was recommending euthanasia. And it was just as though someone had thrown a pail of ice on me. And I was like, oh my God. And I remember you coming after that and saying to me, look, he has, and I forget whatever the actual issue was the heart. But I remember you saying, okay, the issue with the heart's not good, but look, he's not ready to go yet. He's happy, he's wagging his tail when you come in, et cetera, et cetera. So I was like, took a sigh of relief that I wasn't going to have to have someone euthanize Bear right then and there, because he was a favorite of everyone. And I did take Bear home, and he was slow and easygoing, and he went in and out of my house, so he lived there, and he died actually very peacefully on his own on Christmas Eve. But my point being, and I see Marty in these the same situations, different animals, where he can take this scientific part of his brain, but then he kind of marries it with his heart in a really good way that not a lot of people can do. And that's very special. That's very special. So in my ever-increasing need to educate people, I have 3 different subjects that I want to ask Marty to share some info on. One we'll start with is related to heartworms.
Okay.
We have 2 dogs right now that is undergoing heartworm treatment, and Marty is heading that up for them. And maybe you'd like to share how important heartworm preventative is.
Well, it's incredibly important, and in a similar way, when you're dealing with infectious disease, and in this case it's an infestation, it's a parasite, but the way it works is that when a dog gets heartworms and has adult heartworms, there are millions of larvae circulating in that dog's blood. Any mosquito that bites that dog is going to pick up several of those larvae, and then when it bites another dog or cat or person, it injects those larvae. And so when you put your dog on heartworm prevention, you're preventing your dog from getting adult heartworms. So the heartworm prevention kills the larvae as the mosquito injects them into their body prevents your dog from getting heartworms, but you're also preventing a lot of other dogs from being exposed to heartworms.
Yeah.
And I don't think people realize that. It's very important. One dog with heartworms is going to infect or infest multiple mosquitoes. And we do see heartworms in rural areas are where we see most of it because we have dogs that are not on heartworm prevention. Mary talks about adopting the dogs from South Carolina from kill shelters, and every time I hear that one's coming, I'm thinking, okay, we got an 80% chance that it has heartworms, because that's about what it is.
Yeah.
About 80% of those dogs have heartworms from rural South Carolina, and it gets even higher as you go further south. I just had a dog that was, he can't be 2 years old, from the eastern shore of Virginia with no real history. Beautiful dog, Labrador, and he's positive for heartworms. So I'm reasonably certain he didn't get prevention. So we're in the process of treating him as well.
Yeah, it is a huge thing.
And the other thing I'd like to clear up is that some people think that the name, I don't know what most people think, but I don't think people realize that the adult female heartworm is 16 inches long, and they really do live in the heart. So in a 6-month period, they go from being a microscopic larvae injected by the mosquito to an adult ascarid worm, roundworm, and the females are 14 to 16 inches in length, and they create incredible disease.
Yeah, we have Grace, who lives in my office. She was heartworm positive, and well, there's damage done to her heart that is not going to be reversed. So she's on monthly medications for heart disease, basically. She cannot be spayed at this point because going under anesthesia just won't work well for her. And so, yeah, that was thanks to a heartworm infestation. So
We have another question. Can I?
Yes.
This question says, Dr. Betts and Susan, tell us about a particular pet who you have helped at CFC and why you still remember them. How about that one for you, Susan?
I don't know. What do you think?
There's
a lot of those.
I think that when I've adopted them, when that happens, so I'm mainly.
You have a big heart.
I'm mainly with the cats because usually the dogs aren't put under anesthesia, although sometimes they are if they're aggressive and they need to have shots or to be examined. But I have one of the animals. I didn't do this, but it just needs to be said about. I think her name was Liberty, the little cat, and she was paralyzed in her hindquarters. She couldn't urinate or defecate by herself, so she had to have that expressed on 2 or 3 times a day.
Right.
And she was the happiest cat. And anyone else would have euthanized this little cat. And she was happy. She was around. She was talking. Eventually, it became not good quality of her life, and she was euthanized. But it was, I just loved coming in there and seeing this little cat dragging her hindquarters, but just as happy as she could be.
She was very happy for about 2 years.
She was, yeah.
We have her on screen. Liberty's a good-looking dog, a good-looking cat.
Yeah. She was a tough girl, and she came in with babies.
Yeah, she came in with, that's right, she had babies and was paralyzed. She'd actually been shot.
Yeah.
That's why she was paralyzed. She was a victim of a air rifle.
That is no bueno right there. And what's your other question?
Okay, so I have 2 other scenarios that put pure terror into my mind, and only because of how far I live from an emergency vet. But I think it might be equally as freaked out by others, even closer. 2 issues that I think can be deadly for a dog in particular. But if you could guide people, number one, how to recognize what bloat is, how quickly it goes south and your dog won't survive it, and what can you do? And the other one is if your dog is lying around chewing on his favorite bone and suddenly some chunk gets stuck in his throat and he's choking and pawing. What can we do before we can get them to the vet?
Okay. Well, with bloat, first of all, I will tell you that it can be difficult to recognize in the early stages, which is very frustrating because that's when it's easily treatable, and that's when you're most likely to have success. But primarily what these dogs present with is that they'll often be attempting to vomit and unable to produce anything, so it'll be an unsuccessful retching. And very shortly after that, you'll notice that their abdomen is becoming distended, and it will become what we refer to it as tympanic. It'll be very drum-like fairly quickly. Now, if you start to see attempts to vomit and you notice any distension to the abdomen at all, those two things should not go hand in hand. So if the abdomen is becoming enlarged, that dog needs to be seen right away. And you should get that dog in the car and get to the closest veterinarian if you notice that. The other question about foreign bodies in the throat, and we had one of those, if you remember Caring for Creatures, foreign bodies in the mouth can be difficult, and you'll see a variety of different things. Usually it's something that the dog was chewing on, a bone or a stick that gets wedged in the mouth. That can be horribly uncomfortable, but not life-threatening if they're in the and again, if you can identify it, and if your dog is not horribly upset and might injure you when you're trying to remove it, you can try to remove it yourself. If they're having difficulty breathing, you need to try to open their mouth and remove the foreign material. If you can't reach it with your fingers. If you have a pair of needle nose pliers or something like that to reach in and try to grasp it and remove it. And again, if you can't, you need to get that animal to a veterinarian as quickly as you can.
What about, and I have read with the
chest compression
thing, yeah, that, or if the animal is small enough weight-wise that you can turn them more upside down. And
if you can turn them upside down and compress the chest, you might be able to get them to expel it.
Force it out,
right.
Yeah.
I think we should turn each of the questions Mary asked Harris into sizzle reels that we can then syndicate across our network because they were knowledgeable and educational. And I think people would get a lot of value out of that. Any other thoughts you have there, Mary?
No, those were most of my interesting questions. Medical that I think, and I know that I've recently had stories of people tell me of their dogs with bloat, and they didn't realize, and even though they rushed, they could not save the dog. So another thing I had read, does a gas X type anti-gas thing help while you're on the way to the vet, if you can get it?
Probably not. It depends on the type of bloat, but if it's food bloat, that won't help because it's not gas. Now that's typically not going to be life-threatening, but gastric torsion, which is the most serious type of bloat, when that happens, there's no way you can get anything into the stomach.
Okay.
If you're lucky as a veterinarian, you might be able to pass a tube, but you're not. That dog can't swallow.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
I love it. I want to close the show with Susan letting folks know why we should get involved with Caring for Creatures.
I think that Caring for Creatures is a real benefit to the Charlottesville community and Savannah, and it's we have a SPCA here, and they're well funded, and I think they're a wonderful organization. But Mary's organization is something really, really special, and I think I don't know what it'd be without Mary, but I mean it just embodies everything Mary is. And
thank you, I appreciate that. It's a part of my dream, and my approach is to find others with the same perspective and philosophy and get them in and trained so it all carries on. But it's definitely focused on the, no pun intended, underdog and those who would otherwise not have a chance. And by the way, Mickey is now in foster
Oh,
home.
is he really?
He's in a
Oh,
foster
good.
home till
All
his
right.
next surgery, so everyone can know that with the potential of final adoption.
Well, and the other thing I'd like to pass on too, real quickly, is that one thing I find that I think speaks to how special Caring for Creatures is the volunteers that are out there.
Yeah.
That I see year after year after year. Whenever I'm out there, the same people that are very concerned about the animals, they always have their lists of things they'd like me to look at that they've noticed about animals, and sometimes it's incredible what they observe.
Yeah.
And they're just wonderful people, and I'm sure they wouldn't be there if it wasn't a wonderful organization.
Well, I've seen it with the show, and they've come on the show, and we have folks coming in from Richmond to take care of cats.
Yeah.
I mean, we have folks coming from all over Central Virginia driving to Fluvanna County. I mean, Google Maps sometimes doesn't even work when you're going out there, and it's just like so like this like sincere and authentic and genuine like passion and commitment to CFC and Mary's organization. I think that's why we love to celebrate it with this show. You know, you guys did awesome. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much for today,
happy to
but
do it.
everything, for everything.
Well, I hope it worked out well.
It did.
Perfect.
It did. And for those that are watching, guys, give the show a like and a share. It gives more attention for CFC. And please visit caringforcreatures.org and follow them on Facebook. And if you feel so inclined, donate and volunteer your time. Come out to the sanctuary in Fluvanna County and see how special CFC is. 30 years of her life at Caring for Creatures, 30 plus years for Mary Birkholz. I mean, I think that's right there a testament to her charity and to the nonprofit and what it does for the community. It's Central Virginia's first no-kill animal sanctuary, and it's in Fluvanna County, and you guys need to be a part of it. For Marty Betts, for Susan White, for Mary Birkholz, my name is Jerry Miller. It's the Caring for Creatures show, Thursdays at 3 o'clock on the I Love Seville Network. Thank you for joining us. Good job, guys.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Good, very good. I enjoyed your work. You
Enjoyed
were,
that a lot.
Yeah. Good.
you made it a lot of fun.
We got one more thing to do. We got to get
Yes.
your photo under the lights here.
All right.
Right?
Sit in.
Right up here.
Oh, stay there.